Showtime.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 11th regularly scheduled business meeting of the Grosse Township Board of Trustees. I think we have a very rewarding introduction tonight. I'm going with the Police Honor Guard, and we'll begin with Post the Colors.
Forward. Up. Ready? Oh. Post colors. Post.
Let's continue with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Up. About. Face. Forward. Up.
We're going to continue with the introduction of Sergeant Relic. $126. It's a number of law enforcement officers that were killed in the line of duty during 2014. In 1961, President Kennedy, by an act of Congress, declared May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the surrounding week as Police Week. It is only fitting that our Police Honor Guard post the colors of this great nation before the meeting of our governmental body tonight. These are not the brightest of days for law enforcement, though the memories of our departed brothers and sisters shine brightly in our minds and our hearts. So in the coming days, please remember us with a simple hello or a thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Allen. With that, back to the more mundane parts of our job. We have a quorum of the board. Mr. Malvesto is excused this evening. We'll continue with the business as presented, and this time I'll entertain additions or deletions to the agenda.
Mr. Supervisor,
I'm going to give it to Clerk Ranka first.
no problem.
I'd like to move that we add a late addition for the Island Fest fireworks display, approval of a contract fireworks permit authorization.
Okay, and I mixed that one up. But anyway, moved by Clerk Ranka, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss to add the fireworks contract for Island Fest. And I'm sorry, it should have been Mrs. Smith's introduction, so that's me. Any discussion among the board? None offered. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will be added to the agenda. I would request the indulgence of the board to add a short presentation of funds collected for rolling right after the Veterans Memorial Library presentation.
Support.
Okay, moved by Supervisor, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss to add a presentation by Mr. Clark. Any discussion among the board? All right, none offered. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will be added to the agenda also. Any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Thank you. All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. The agenda stands amended. With that, we'll step to presentations. And Francine? I forgot your last name.
Sanek. My name is Francine Sanek. I'm from the Trenton Library here. And this is Donna Jensen.
From West River Road.
Yes. We're here to tell you today about the summer reading programs we have going for children and teens and adults this summer, and also about the Michigan Activity Pass program, which is another summer program that I think you'll find interesting. Donna will start with the summer reading program.
Hi, as you know, my name is Donna Denson, and I am a resident of Grosse Ile. I'm excited to be here tonight to talk to you about Grosse Ile's very own library, which is the Veterans Memorial Library. Our library is committed to inviting and involving citizens of Grosse Ile in all of our programs, and we want to remind you that this is your home library. We are open Monday through Saturday in the summer, so come on down and experience all we have to offer you and your family. I'd like to invite you now to participate in our summer programs. First, the summer reading program. You have in front of you a brochure that has some information about our summer reading, but just in general, registration begins June 8th. All of the children in the district will be receiving electronic flyers. And if you don't get one, or if for some reason it disappears on your computer, feel free to come to the library to get that information.
Would you press the magic buttons on there so we can put this on the overhead and show the people viewing at home what this program looks like, please? Okay, now anything you put over the seal there will be...
So that's all right. So just put it right here. Great, thanks.
You wanted to comment, we can zoom on it.
Okay.
There you go.
Wow, technology at its best. Wonderful. The goal of our summer reading program is to encourage reading during the summer, obviously, and we do that with incentives. Prizes are awarded for time that's spent reading. Any type of reading material is acceptable, and all independent readers, regardless of age, can participate. The children in grades kindergarten through 5th grade have programs every Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Examples of some of the programs are animals, magicians, puppets, science, and music. And these programs help get the children into the library so they can choose books, and it encourages their reading. And the teenagers that are in grades 6th through 12th, they have 3 evening programs. Those will be on Thursdays at 7:30. And one of the prizes that they can reach for is the special teen lock-in, which they receive an invitation to when they've read 15 hours. Of those of you that have teenagers who like to read, that's not a big deal. It's an easy goal for them to reach. This after-hour program is not overnight, but it is after the library is closed, and the teenagers get to have a sense of ownership of the library. So there's a lot of great things going on there. They get to have pizza and treats and games, and the main event is a group that shows up to teach them how to do Hollywood makeup, including zombies and other lovely creatures. The prizes that the kids and teens can get are at 3 hours of reading, 15 hours, and 30 hours. They keep track of their own reading, so they're also learning organizational skills and memory. Participants are encouraged to keep track of their reading on sheets that are provided to them, and they get these in a goodie bag that they get when they come to the library to sign up. The kids get back into the library so they can see how much we have to offer, and it allows them to check out more books. Now, for those of us who are over 18, you can still win prizes for your summer reading. Each item read can be entered for a weekly drawing. The prizes are from local businesses from all of our 4 communities. And Rocio, if there's any businesses here, you can participate by donating a gift certificate also. And some of our other programs this summer are every Saturday, the second Saturday of the month at 2 o'clock, we have movies that are family friendly and free. Some of the movies we are considering showing this summer are the live action Cinderella that should be out in July or August, SpongeBob, so that's exciting, and also Strange Magic and Home. We are excited to announce this year we are participating for the first time at Island Fest. We will be presenting brochures about the library and reminding everyone that this is your library. And we will also have the paperwork for summer reading sign up and used books for sale too. So drop by and say hello. Thanks.
Hi. Now that you've heard all about the summer reading, the Michigan Activity Pass is a little bit different. You can do that actually from home. Through the website, that'll have a button on there that looks like a hot air balloon, and you can click that on, and it involves all kinds of different passes to venues all over Michigan, from the top of the UP all the way down to the Ohio border. And there's over 300 different venues that you can pick from. Some of them are a free pass to the place, like where you click it on and it's you can get 2 free passes to that particular place. Or some of them are where, like that new aquarium that's up there in Oakland County that just opened. That one has one where if you buy an adult pass, you can get a child's pass for free if you do it through this Adventure Pass. They have museums, they have gardens, they have musical events, they've got, trying to think what all of the others are, excuse me, I'm drawing a blank here. Science centers, historical museums. They even have a discount on the ferry boats going to Mackinac Island. So you name it, there's all kinds of different things. And they're all free or, greatly discounted, whatever it is. So if you're planning your vacations and you're doing a staycation here in Michigan and you are looking for exciting and fun things to do, this is a free one, and you can do that yourself. You just print off the pass on your home computer and take it right to the place. You have to sign in with your library card number, so that's how it connects with the library. So if you don't already have a library card, stop in at the library anytime to show your license or state ID, and we'll issue you a card. For kids under 18, they need a parent or guardian to sign for them for a card, but they'll be all set with that. If you don't have a printer working with your home computer or having problems with that, come on down to the library. We have over 34 public internet computers. We'll be happy to set you up on one and have you print it off if you'd like, whatever you want to do. We're there to help whatever we can, and we hope that you enjoy the summer and are able to take advantage of some of the things we offer for free.
Sounds like there's no excuse for sitting around doing nothing and being bored.
No. Thank you very much for letting us go.
Any questions for?
Yeah, would reading our board packets count towards the summer reading?
Extra points.
what was this one, 83 pages or?
Yeah, I know.
89 pages.
It depends on how many hours it took you, it's okay.
Did you rush me afterwards, or? Yeah, right.
They do it by time, but
Thank you. Good news. Okay, this time we have a second presentation. Mr. Clark. I guess Mr. Seatek.
We had dumped the junk May 2nd and 3rd, and we had a area where you dump your metal, and we got $418 and $20, so a total of $438 to the rowing club. We still have some stainless out there, and that's got to be turned in. When that turns in, we'll give you the number and give them the money. Okay?
I think it's winning. Thank you. Time well spent. We're looking forward to
One
part
time
of it.
raw. We didn't see any of you there.
I was out of town.
Didn't have anything to
I was out of the
He's
state.
got an excuse. The rest of you don't.
Woody, can you just give us, after Mr. Seatek speaks, can you give him a little update? I know you want to take off.
No, I don't want to go.
Oh, good, stick around.
If I may just offer thank you for the nice donation today. And I would also like to thank the entire community, because our fundraising is vigorous and extensive. And we, the rowing club and the high school crew, could not stay afloat without the generosity of this great community. So I thank all of you and everybody that may be at home watching. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seatek. Good luck on your continued efforts. So that concluding the presentations, we'll move into, okay, public comment, limited to agenda items. Mr. Zelasco.
Bob Zelasco, 9746 Boulevard. Before I open, I'd like to set the tone. First of all, reflecting back on what you said one time, Brian, I'm not here to condemn the project, but you had made a comment one time, if we have to lose a couple of bucks for a kid to swim in the pool, you didn't have a problem with that. Neither do I, okay? Just so I set the tone. But I want to address action item number 1. A $600,000 project that's supposed to generate $35,000 a year revenue, and I'm looking at it in a department that is having a hard time sustaining itself right now. I have 3 other entities that are in dire need of money. I have a golf course, I have a tavern, I have a marina. I'm looking at spending $600,000 right now. When in my profession, which was building cars, when I was asked to go in and try and help out a starving department, the first thing I did is I went in and I looked at what my costs were, what my expenses were, where could I start to show an improvement, start bringing some of this burden down. If I would have went to my Fuhrer, who at that time was a man named Mr. Iacocca, and I said, hey Lee, I got a fix for that project you gave me, I need more money. I don't think I need to tell you what he would have told me. Now I'm looking at sustaining it with $35,000 minimum a year. 70 to 100 kids if you have 100 good days. I was down there today at 1 o'clock and I looked at the parking lot. It was 2/3 full with people in the tavern and golfers. And I said to myself, where am I going to put the cars? Have I looked at that? Build it and they will come. Great concept if you have a well-executed plan. If they come and they don't have a place to park, they're not going to walk a mile for a camel. Okay? I'm suggesting that maybe you table this evening. It'll give you a little more opportunity to look at some of the other issues, such as the deteriorating large pool where I'm going to need more money down the road. Am I going to throw $600,000? Do I really calculated the risk on this project to all of a sudden bring all this money in and save my department? I think that's the wrong approach. I think you need to take a little harder look at it. I think we're a little premature here this evening. It'll give you an opportunity to look at some of these open issues, take a harder look at them, give you a little bit more time to maybe invite some more public comment. And also, I for one would like to see the liaison for the commission here on a vote like that, and I'd like to hear what he has to say. In closing, let me say this. I had the opportunity of working for some great mentors. One gave me some advice one time, which I used throughout my career and always proved me to be beneficial. Everybody wants to be efficient. Efficiency puts you on a high cloud. Financially, I'm running at the top. But to be efficient, you first have to be effective. Efficiency is to consistently do the things you've put in place right. Effectiveness is to first do the right thing. I suggest you table this, give yourself a little more time. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Zalasko. Any other? Mrs. Walker.
Thorpe Court. First of all, I'd like to continue on that tone. I'm a swimmer. I love the water. Anything to do with pools, I always vote for it. But after going to the previous meeting, it seems like the concern is, for the most part of the board, is not about it paying it off, the $44,000 a year for 15 years. That doesn't seem to be the big concern. It's just that the pool's a mess, and I'm not saying it's not, because I don't swim there like I used to, because I don't think a 5-lane pool was a smart thing to put in. Years ago, it should have been a 6-lane or an 8-lane pool. I know in Grosse Pointe now they put in a 12-lane pool, and it shouldn't be yards, it should be meters. But that's another story. So my question was basically answered that this is more, you want something new, something to improve. And okay, I understand that. So then I started looking at the population. Population's 10-4. I couldn't get the exact numbers for the children 10 and under, but I extrapolated it down from the census. It's about 1,500. Then I looked at the country club. Country club's got a whole bunch of kids there. And let me be honest with you, most of the people from the country club are not going to take their child to Water's Edge, even if it's the greatest thing in the world, every day, because they're paying dues over there and they're paying minimum, and that's why they joined, especially the social members. But again, okay, so we're down to 1,200. And I ran the numbers with 88 breaks even, because that's $44,005 a day for 100 days. That's Labor Day, Memorial Day to Labor Day, with no bad weather. So then I said, well, you know, I don't know anything about splash pads. Because Grandy asked me about that. I said, I don't know. I just have some friends who have kids, grandkids, and I started asking. So I looked up the places in Wayne County. There are 15 municipal splash pads, 10 of which are free. Then I said, okay, let's look at some other ones. Redford Township. They got a grant. We were talking about that earlier. Grant in 2008. They open it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They do not open during the week unless it hits 90 degrees, and the National Weather Service predicts it. So I pulled the records from last year. We had 2 days over 90 degrees. The average in Michigan is 7 to 10 days. Again, I'm not hammering this because you need kids, but let's face it. People move to Grosse Seal primarily. You come wherever you live, it's because of your job. You don't want to go more than 25 minutes. I think that's what I read in the census one time. 25 minutes is, you know, there are people who drive an hour and a half or 2 hours, and some people walk to work. But so it's 25 minutes. Then you've got the safety here, and, you know, got all the wonderful things we do have. But I don't see where the majority of people in the township would probably be happy funding this project for such a small population. And I know better than probably most people here, because I did it for 10 years at the Historical Society, bringing people over. I begged people. I got people from Rochester. I got them from Brighton. I've got them from all over, and very few from Trenton, because there's something psychological about the bridge. The closer you live to Grosse Seal, the harder it is to get the people here. And for 10 years, and I mean, I did everything. And we had success, but it was always Dearborn, you know, places like that. So then I went on, and I said, okay, I talked to Brownstown. I said, I want to know about this wonderful new thing. It's supposed to be great. And mind you, Brownstown has 3 times the population, 3 times. Plus, you've got the pour-over. We drove by it the other day. I couldn't find the splash park. I couldn't figure it out. So I called the gal today. And she was very helpful, and she said, there's a maximum of 153 people per session. They have 3 sessions. So if they had every kid in the whole day, it'd be 459. You know that's not reasonable. It's not going to happen. They're not going to fill it. And they said last year they opened and they got more people from outside because they were driving by than the residents. And the interesting thing was, they really didn't save money on the people that work there. Because, you're thinking you're not going to have the lifeguard for the kid pool. She said, well, let me tell you what you're going to have. You're going to have a monitor. Because here's the biggest problem. You got spitting. You got diaper leakage. Not a pretty thing to think about, but that's a fact. You've got rubberized areas that kids can run. You've got to tell them what to do. And I know I was a lifeguard, and I remember at 17 having to tell parents, watch your kid. Because they don't. They get there and they leave them, and the monitor guy has to do it. Now, maybe the monitor will be less than a lifeguard. Lifeguard's a trained professional, so you might save a couple bucks. But you're going to have somebody there all the time. So you're not saving there. But again, they got their money. Here's the best part. They got their money from phase 2 of the DDA project. So again, kind of grant money. And then they said the money they get, the $2, yeah, you didn't know that, did you, Brian?
Yeah, I've never gotten a grant in a DDA project. So.
Well, they said they got the money from phase 2 of their DDA.
Yeah, that's not grant money.
Okay, sorry, I misspoke, but that's where they got it from. I look at it as, it's taxpayer money, but it's kind of put out there that you can take back. And then I called the YMCA, last thing, before I forget, the $2 per person pays basically for the chemicals. That's all they think it's going to pay for. I called the YMCA, which is, the pool is owned by Wayne County, which I thought was interesting. Now, they pay for the lifeguards and everything, but the pool is owned by somebody else, so I don't know if it's because of insurance. They've had it for 11 years, and it's included in their membership, which is another interesting thing. And they have 5,000 memberships, and they told me they get 10,000 annual visits. Now, if we run the numbers at 88 a day for 100 days, that would be 8,800 visits. I find it hard to believe that you'll get those visits when you compare it to what they offer at the YMCA. It's amazing over there. I've just been there once for kayaking. But again, I go through all this and I say, I'm not against water. I wish you'd put in an 8-lane pool. I'd be the first one to vote for it. But the population is so small here. I figure you'd get 1,200, which would be 7%. That's not a lot of people. And if you went with a pool, you would get a lot of the adults. You'd get a bigger population. And I still don't think you'd bring anybody across. But you are going to do something eventually with the pool area. And I think, in my opinion, these numbers have to be run. And they have to be run hard. And they have to be realistic. And I don't think they are right now, and I would urge you, as Bob did, please take your time, please review it, and maybe it's not a water park, maybe it's a new pool, maybe it's something else, I don't know, but you got 15 years of living with that $44,000, and that's a lot of money. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Walker. I think you'll get all the numbers you can handle when Ms. Boyd comes back to the microphone. Other comments from the public present on the agenda items?
I was going to say something.
But you're deferring. Too late.
I'll see you after comment time.
Well, we'll still be here. Okay, with that, let's move on to the consent agenda, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda 15-019, which includes the minutes of the April 27th, 2015 regular meeting, the check register dated May 8th, 2015, and approval to process and distribute payments through May 29th, 2015.
Support. Okay, moved by Treasurer Vanoff, seconded by Trustee Budney. Questions or comments from the board on the consent agenda? None offered. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. Consent agenda is approved. With that, moving on to action items.
Mr. Supervisor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk.
No
Coming out of the other zone, but I'm back. Mr. Clerk,
I'd like to recommend that based on the recommendation and support of the Community Recreation Commission, the Township Board of Trustees authorizes the Recreation Director to purchase a splash park from Vortex, a national purchasing partner and single source supplier. Financing for the project will be borrowed from the Township General Fund of no more than $600,000 over a 15-year period at 2% interest.
Okay, moved by Clerk Ranka, seconded by the supervisor. Background, Ms. Boyd. Mr. Malvesto would normally be introducing this. He is excused tonight. He is the liaison to the Rec Commission. Ms. Boyd.
Good evening.
Okay, you got to. We'll help your friends. We'll get the computer presentation.
Oh, this is just for me. Okay. Okay, so this information is the third time that it's been presented to the Township Board and to the CRC and to the public. Last meeting with the CRC, they voted to bring the motion forward to the Township Board to get approval for the splash park.
And it came with their recommendation.
Yes, it did. And Mr. Malvesto was there at the time. I know he's not here this evening, unfortunately. So the splash park is a way to invest in our community. The number one reason people ask when they're moving into community is about their schools. The second thing they ask about is the amenities that they have, and the biggest amenity is the community recreation department. So, you know, just to walk through, it's not something that, yes, people are going to move in droves here to go Zale because we have a splash park, but it is an investment in our community. And we are in dire need of doing something different in our department. We have aging infrastructure. Certainly there's a lot of places that we can spend money to repair what we have, but none of those will bring in any revenue. So by bringing in revenue, the more revenue you can bring in, the more you can invest into the facilities that you have. And what makes this project different than one of the questions that we had in the study session was how is this different than our neighboring communities? We are providing an elevation which has a water feature that splashes down on the kids. We have a slide. We have an actual splash pad, and then we also have a water journey. So we are hitting on all elements of the children's age features, their tactile function, their being able to play. It is universally accessible for all children. The age or the range of the dates, the life of when people use it, our swim pools are usually about 100 to 110 days, Memorial Day to Labor Day, or if you go a little longer. With the splash pad in park, you have a larger shoulder season. So the season of a splash pad is more like 120 days or longer. So all my numbers are very conservative, and it's based only on the 100-day season. But it takes 2 hours to open it and 2 hours to close it. So the shoulder season is much larger than what you would have with a normal city pool. This again is the concept.
Brandon, go back one slide, please. When she talks about, when she refers to, if you can, I wanted to point out when she refers to that's the one. When she refers to an elevation, that dump bucket and the slide is what's referred to as the elevation. The other local ones have these ground level features. That's one that it would just distinguish our proposal from others. That's what's considered the elevation.
And some of the other parks, which was mentioned earlier about the staffing, we have built-in staffing already for our pool, so we wouldn't have additional expenses because we already have people that are our monitors that Ms. Walker mentioned earlier. We already have them on staff already. So we wouldn't have to, the pool in Brownstown, it was just established, and they have locker rooms and the restrooms and the splash pad, so they didn't have staff prior to. We already have the staff there. These are some of the individual features. And then we have the water recirculation system. So we are saving money because we're not using a flow-through system where the water comes in and then flows in through our sewer systems. It's a recirculation system. So you're saving water by still having the splash elements and the water elements. And you're creating a vibrant place within your community. Staffing, we're saving by not having the baby pool. We are saving on staffing, which cuts about a third of our expenses with our lifeguards. So that's approximately $7,300 a year. Chemicals, we're saving approximately $1,000. Permits, $500, and then just touching on the additional expenses with the insurance, there would be no additional expense with insurance costs. Just those two. Oh, excuse me. Long term, we have the Marsite, the pools every 5 to 8 years, so that's a $7,000 expense. This is just on the baby pool. Pool covers every 5 to 8 years, which is about $6,200, and these obviously are fees of this year. So in 6 years, they may be a little bit more. I'm assuming they will be more. And then the boiler is 10 to 15 years, so that's $8,500. Just those savings a year covers the interest of what we would pay on the loan. Additional revenues, it does vary from community to community. Some communities don't charge, some communities do charge. Some charge a nominal fee of $1, some charge $5, some charge $4, so it varies per community. But we have a unique setting. We do have a pool, so if you have multi-ages in your family, you have the ability to go through the pool, you have the splash park. This is a great way for seniors. Obviously they don't have children, but they have grandchildren, and this is a great way. The splash park is a great way for seniors to take their grandchildren to places where they can interact. They don't have to be in the pool. They don't have to stand over them and watch them. They can sit and watch and let them play. So just going on the numbers, there are 1,200 homes on the island that do have children living in them. We have 1,281 school-age children. That's just middle school and elementary alone. I did not include any high school or like 9th grade. There's 318 younger than school-age children on the island. And then again, there's approximately 3,000 seniors that potentially have grandchildren that they could bring to the splash park. And then you have your surrounding communities, and I just picked 6 closest ones, and that's an additional 18,000 of their residents that are 14 and under. So we are pooling from a larger area than just Grosio. We're building it for our residents, but we do have the potential of tapping them for a revenue source. Did you want me to touch on Vortex, or?
Well, you can give us some of the background. If we're looking at investing some money, the residents have a right to know who we're spending the money with.
Yep. Vortex is an international company. Their product is used in over 80% of all splash parks in the United States and 95% of the ones that are in Michigan and, quite frankly, probably the Midwest. I didn't get the specific numbers on the Midwest, but going just by Michigan, they're the largest supplier of splash parks or features. So going with them directly, you're cutting out the middleman, and they are part of the national government purchasing program. So their product is bid out in advance, and so they have a standard pricing. So by going with them, that we're already getting the lowest price. They are one of the first companies that came out on the market. They've been cutting edge when they came in, and they've stayed cutting edge throughout their 10 years that they've been installing the splash parks.
Are you aware of any complaints from any communities that have used Vortex? How's their track record is?
They have a stellar track record. I don't know one person, and I know several communities who've used, well, almost every community I know has used Vortex. They have a great reputation. They have no on-the-job injuries. Their product is great. No complaints with, the only complaints that I've ever gotten when I've talked to, one being in the industry and two calling specifically regarding their splash pads, the only thing people would wish was that they wish they'd done it sooner, and they wish they would have did bigger. And the two people that I know who've done them recently have put in small ones, and now they're looking at doing them in their downtown areas, and they're looking at putting more in.
Okay, this time, question, other than me, questions, comments from the board. We had an extended study session on this. This has been to the board a number of times, been to the rec commission, so we're not starting from scratch on this concept. This is my 5th presentation. Other questions, comments from the board? Well, I think we kind of left no stone unturned at the study session, but any comments that you think the residents might want to know that we discussed, that we've investigated? And Mrs. Smith, you're ready to jump in, so Lauren.
Well, we have discussed this a number of times, but I feel like a lot of the information's been pushed to us, and for me, I still have some, questions that need to be addressed. I'm not against this idea. In fact, I think, Ms. Boyd brings a infusion of ideas and energy to the department that we haven't seen in a long time, and for that, I really appreciate her bringing this to us. I do believe that it's premature, and I think that Mr. Zalasko, as well as Mrs. Walker, brought up some very poignant topics or, points of discussion, especially as far as the finances. I think there's no doubt something needs to be done, whether it's this or something else, but $600,000 is a lot. I think that we should be looking at grants to offset the expense of this, because certainly this is taxpayer dollars, and when you look at the minute amount of people who potentially could be using it every year, and if we're going to say, you know what, we're just going to put this in and not charge and not care about the revenue, because realistically, I think that the numbers are very loose, and I don't think that they're true. I think that we could probably call a zillion communities across the country and find out that most likely this is not going to be a huge revenue generator for us. I think that whole entire area needs to be really relooked at, whether it's doing a complete renovation to the entire pool and making a larger pool so it's more competitive in the competitive swimming arena is an idea. I know that this has been your 5th presentation, but in all reality, this idea came to us, maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, and to act this quickly on $600,000, I think does not behoove the residents, because, I won't be voting for it at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Smith. Mr. Bucket,
go right down.
Pick up where we left off.
Well, certainly, what Mr. Zalesko and Mrs. Walker said, I would hope the board really takes into consideration, because like Mrs. Smith, I just think this is premature to be voting on this quick. The numbers are very, very loose. We really have I think our rose-colored glasses on, thinking that we're going to attract the people that we need to attract. We know how hard it is, as Mrs. Walker said, how hard it is to get people to grow zeal. And to rush into this, I just don't see any reason for it, especially since now we're not gonna start on this until later this year, if we passed it even. Why not take a little more time and make sure that this is the right thing for the residents of Grow Zeal? We haven't we haven't had any real input from the people. And you really need to not only say, would you like this, but you also have to ask them, would you like to pay for it? Would you like this more than you'd like roads? Would you like this more than you'd like, something else? Yeah, there's a lot of things that need to be done at the Water's Edge complex. A lot of things that were ignored for a long time, but they still need to be done. And to jump into something this quickly, and again, I love the fact that you're coming up with new ideas, but I just would like to see us put a little more time in on it and make sure of what we're doing. And like Mrs. Smith, at this point, I could not vote for this.
Other comments from the board? Mr. Posias.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Well, it's pretty apparent that this is not going to happen this year for all the discussions that we've had. And yet, during the study session, I tried to express that until we start doing things differently, we won't get different results. I don't know that a $600,000 project is going to be the magic bullet, because nobody does. But I do see your spirit in trying to get something new here as being the first step for something new. Will this park be as attractive to people 10 years from now if we put it in? Would be one of my questions. And I think that part of that answer, which is probably more appropriate coming from you, that there would be changes and ability to make quick changes to make the park fresh. We haven't made the pool fresh. We certainly haven't made the kiddie pool fresh. And we're doing the same thing year after year after year and expecting different results. We're kidding ourselves. Having said that, I'm 110% for the concept, but hearing the complaints or the issues raised, if you will, what harm is there in giving them a little bit more time and letting us rake through these figures a little bit more and get a better picture of it?
They certainly can, and
Sure.
I can give them as many numbers as they wish and whatever statistics that they're looking for. But it is, we can wait and put it off, and that's fine. But then if you wait too long, you won't get it in this year, and then you'll be down a part of your season next year.
I'm suggesting that, 2 to 4 weeks, not 2 to 6 months. Is that kind of a?
Well, our next board meeting is in 4 weeks. Okay, we don't have the one on the end of May because of conflict with Memorial Day. So we're looking at the first June meeting. Eric's going to give us a date, essentially a month away.
I'm looking at the rest of the board saying that, is that the time you need? Now, this is a momentous decision for us.
It is, and I mean, I think it's more about strategy. Where realistic, what other options are out there? We talk about not doing some things well. Well, let's start doing those things really well. Let's start fixing some of the issues that we haven't had money to fix, or things, that other people have talked about.
Again, this is the 5th time I've gone through this, and I get more excited every time about it. I'm sorry. Let's look at something else. Okay, nobody's come up with anything else. I've seen these splash parks. I've seen them immensely popular. Brandy's done the research. Every community she's checked, they've had overwhelming support for them. So maybe we're different here. I don't think our kids are that much different. We know the kiddie pool is a lost cause. It's just, we're going to have to dump a ton of money into it to replace it and still have it underutilized. And you talk about cleaning up droppings, if you will, in the splash park. Good golly, what do you think the kiddie pool was? I'm sorry, that's just what kids in diapers are. She's done her homework, she's done her research. Yes, it's going to cost money. The residents who gave us a recreation millage to spend wisely to keep and improve the programs. This is an improvement. This is what younger families are expecting. All these are interrelated. But good schools, a good community, good recreational offerings, they're all interrelated. Young families don't want to come to Grosse Ile. We're not going to have a school system anymore. We've had to go to school of choice just to keep the state per pupil support up to a level where we could pay our teachers.
But that's not unique to us.
That's
not unique to Grosse Ile.
It wasn't an issue in Woodhaven. It wasn't an issue in Brownstown. It was in Trenton. It has been in Grosse Ile. To a small extent in Riverview. I had to look at these numbers. I had to take steps, or try to take steps, to promote the island. This is a great opportunity. We know that most of our participants in Gyra and Giza are now coming from off the island. People will come to Grosse Ile. We have the big soccer fields. We have that beautiful recreation area. Wouldn't it be nice to have a splash park too? So while Junior A is practicing soccer, juniors B and C can be at the splash park. It's a thought. It's a thought. But to continue doing what we're doing now and expect better results, not a good definition, and not what we were elected to do.
Mr. Supervisor?
Mr. President, yes.
I just want to underline what I said. Brandy thinks that we've got a great idea. Many people here, in principle, think that we have a great idea. But we're not ready to jump into a $600,000 project tonight. We might be in a month. Let's give this board and Brandy an opportunity to collaborate a little bit more. And if it is the good idea, which I think it is, I'm pretty much supportive of this, in a month we'll approve it.
Mr. Treasurer.
I'd say one thing to Bob. If you went to Mr. Iacocca and you said, I need $1 million or we can't make cars in this plant, do you think he'd put them in there? Yeah, I think he would.
That's not my job. My job is to show improvement before I ask for money.
I got it.
That's not happening.
My whole issue with this thing moving forward is the pool is 40 years old. The facility's probably older than that. It's been kind of an albatross for the 30 years that I've been functioning in some kind of capacity here at the township. This has come on us rapidly. I think I really am excited about the fact that we're looking to do something different with this facility. I mean, I don't know splash pads and splash parks. I don't presume to be an expert, but I do know that we have a facility that is a drain currently.
Absolutely.
Of which we're getting a lot of benefit from, but it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse. At some point in time, we're going to have to facilitate it. I would, if it seems to be this board's thoughts that they want to study this a little bit more, I would urge the company that you're working with, Vortex, to come forward with a layout layout. Now, I understand that that's probably going to cost some money. I don't know that they'll do that. Maybe they'll do it on the assumption that they might get the job. I don't know. But we're going to need some brick and mortar facts and figures to get a consensus on this board. That's what I'm hearing now. And I don't want the thing to crumble. I want it to move forward. Mm-hmm. And if in 4 weeks we can get something like that brought forward to this board, it might behoove us, even though I would be willing to move forward with the project, but I'm not sure this board is comfortable with that. And we are a body that has been elected to kind of work together. So I would really like to see this thing maybe studied a bit further and come back with some harder numbers. Not to exceed $600,000 is a little vague on a project like this. And I don't have a problem with a single source because they're the experts, so I don't have a problem with that. But I think maybe what you're hearing from members of this board, a couple of us are ready to move forward with a project that'll probably generate some more funds, at least make us better off than what we are. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think whatever you put in there is going to make us worse off than what we are, except that we have a note that we now have to respectfully deal with for the next 15. Whatever number of years we have to deal with it. And so I think everybody's looking for that justification to spend that kind of money. And so I wouldn't be opposed to put this thing on the table for 4 weeks and see if we can get some hard numbers and some brick and mortar numbers back so that everybody here is comfortable. Because I don't want to see the board uncomfortable, and I certainly don't want to make a decision here. This needs to be a community unified decision, in my opinion.
Right. Well, go ahead.
Mr. Lynn?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
He's been to 5 presentations also.
Just one item I wanted to remind the board, and I know we discussed this previously. We administratively took a long, hard look at the money because $600,000 is a lot. And I think at one of the study sessions I said, our payment, I don't remember who said, how are you going to pay for it? I said, 0 down, 3 years, no payment. And what's behind that is we currently have a capital improvement debt that we are paying that in 3 years will be paid off. So that's why we've asked that at the end of that 3 years, then we'll start making the full bond payment. Okay, it's an old bond now that will no longer be a bond, it will be an internal loan. So we're looking at our budget and saying we want to earmark those funds in advance. Now, certainly at that point in time, if today was the end of that 3 years, we could be talking about, do we want to improve this, that, the other thing, or this? Well, I think what we liked about this was it's new, it's exciting, and it doesn't just cost money, it has the potential to make money. So that was what was behind our financing of this, that we know in 3 years we'll have our internal bond paid off for all those capital improvements, and then would in essence plug that money right back into this project. So we're asking to get started a little sooner than 3 years from now.
The only problem with that is we're going forward with the new, and again, you know, I mean, I think everybody likes the idea. The problem is there are things. The golf course. Part of the reason that the golf course doesn't get more play is it's not a fun golf course to play on. And there was, just this week, last week, the Detroit News and probably the Detroit Free Press had a 2-page section on all the public courses. Guess what course in the downriver area wasn't in that? Water's Edge. Nobody knows about us. How are they going to come here if they don't know about us? You know, and we sat here, Brandy's here now, but we've sat here for 3 years, and with the old guy, we kept saying okay to him. So it's, you know, we got to stop this stuff. We have to look at it and do it right. That's all. I think that's all we're saying. I don't hear anybody saying, bad idea, don't do it. We're saying,
let me jump in.
Just take some time and do it.
What more do we need? The Recreation Commission forwarded a recommendation to approve. They're the ones I hope was getting into the nuts and bolts. What more information do we want from Mrs. Boyd? What do we want? She's not going to guarantee it's going to be successful. It's going to pay all the other rec debits. You know, golf's been losing money since 1990, and every year it was because the weather's bad. No, golf's losing money because golf is going to lose money. But people like playing golf. We teach our kids to play golf there, and otherwise we can either develop the land or we pay to cut the grass. So we keep the golf course. The pool, I think the board has decided we're going to keep a pool on the island because our kids need to learn to swim. Not unreasonable, and the voters have supported it. But we have an opportunity to do something new, something different. Ms. Boyd's done the research. The Community Rec Commission supported it. Not every resident's going to be happy with it. But again, and we can take another look at it, what more information are we going to get in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or 5 years? What more information? Because I'm going to want a specific list so I can hand it to Ms. Boyd and say, these are the answers we want.
Brian, it's not up to you to hand her a list. We'll go to her, we'll talk to her, we'll find out because we have our questions. We'll ask her our questions and get our answers, and when it's brought back after, you know, whatever, we'll vote on it, one up or down. You know, I can tell you, and this would be just hearsay, but I'll tell you right, if Mr. Malvesta was here today, he wouldn't vote for it. For the same reasons that we've talked about. He thinks more research has to be done.
Did he make that comment at the Rec Commission?
He made that comment to me.
Let me add my 2 cents here. So I think that this is the right project to move forward with. If we want to wait 4 weeks and study this, I don't think it's going to kill our timetable to have this thing in the fall. I am prepared to move forward with it tonight. We've got a facility that's antiquated, it's dated, it looks not good, right? And the concrete's uneven. We're talking about the kiddie pool. It needs to be remarshalled this year. It's going to need a new boiler. Before we put the money in, it's going to need to be fixed. I'm confident this is the right plan. If the rest of the board wants to wait a couple of weeks and study it, I'm fine with that. It will need to go through a sketch plan approval at the Planning Commission, where we will check things such as parking and the rest of the access at the site. Next Planning Commission meeting is June 1st, so we could probably get it on that agenda, and then we could see it back here at this board towards the end of June, which should still have us on time if we choose to go forward with the project.
And that'd be plenty of time.
Okay. I want you to check with Vortex, excuse me, if we, June 1st for the,
Planning.
no, the next scheduled board meeting was June
8th, I believe.
June 8th. Would you check with Vortex to see if that's going to kick us into another year, or is that, or would they be still able to start at a reasonable time in the fall to have it open for all of next summer? So I'd like that information. If necessary, if that kicks it too far, we'll call a special meeting and move forward with that. I don't see, do you see any potential pitfalls with the Planning Commission, with the sketch plan?
No, it's a sketch plan. I mean, it's the sketch plan right now is for recreation. It has a pool. This is a very similar usage. The cars, the parking, we handle the pool capacity right now. This capacity is really not a whole lot more than what you have in the pool. So I don't see an issue, but that's why we study it.
We have studied it. Other comments from the board? Okay, we have a motion on the table in a second. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on this. And the motion is, based on the recommendation and support of the Community Recreation Commission, the Township Board of Trustees authorize the Recreation Director to purchase a splash park from Vortex, a national purchasing partner and single source supplier, with the financing as discussed. So the recommendation is to approve. I'll start the vote, and I will vote aye. Mr. Treasurer?
Aye.
Mr. Clerk?
Aye.
Mr. Bundy?
Nay.
Trustee Smith?
Nay.
Trustee Posiask?
Aye.
We have a 4-2 vote. The motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Boyd. Mr. Field, did you catch the votes? Because I wasn't writing fast enough. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to, with no stone left unturned, we'll move on to action item number 2. Mr. Van Oss.
Let me expand this so I can see it. Based on the recommendation of the Airport Commerce Park Manager and the Airfield Commerce Park Commission, request authorization to sign contract number 2015-0260 and the federal project number D-260-0025-3012 between MDOT Aeronautics and the Grove Seal Township for the design and engineering of runway 422, the reconstruction project and lighting project. Cost for the above referenced contract shall not exceed $366,657, of which the township's share shall not exceed 5%, or $18,657.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Trustee Smith. Background information.
Good evening. This is just a follow-up. If you recall from our last meeting, we did approve the actual contract between the Airport Township and CNS, the airport's engineers. This is the funding project that I promised I would bring back to you. I would have had this at our last meeting, but did not have the contract ready, and I wanted to make sure you reviewed everything. The only thing that's a little bit different is the cost is slightly higher on this contract. If I recall, the last one we approved was in the high $16,000 range. The rest is just fees and administration on MDOT's end, so that's the slightly elevated cost. The terms and conditions, the board approves every time that there's a change. We review the contract and the changes to it, and it comes back to the board for approval. So the terms and conditions of this contract have already been approved. They're the standard ones that we've agreed to.
Okay, Kim, we're going to fix this one. Mr. Treasurer.
Just a couple of comments. This project, runway rehab project, we need to get through the engineering portion of it so that we can evaluate the funding and the funding requirements that the FAA and MDOT is going to contribute, and we are going to contribute for the rehab of this runway. It's a major project. We need to move forward with it. And this commitment will just give us at least the layout and the ability to go out for bids on the runway project. So I urge the board to approve.
Just real fast, just to remind everyone, so the fee, the township portion, if you will, or the airport payment portion of this is funded largely by fuel or by fees on the airport, rentals, hangar fees, et cetera.
Overall revenues. Correct.
So it's not coming from the township general fund, it's coming from money's generated on site.
Yep, just to give the public reminder, the airport and Commerce Park are an enterprise zone. So the $18,000 you see there will come from our retained earnings that we've generated off our rental properties, hangar rentals, fuel sales, any other fees that we collect, but does not come from the general operating fund of the township.
Okay. Other questions, comments for Mr. Duker? All right, we'll move on with this. Those in favor of following the recommendation of the Airfield Commerce Park Commission and the Commerce Park Manager to authorize Mr. Duker to sign contract number 2015-0260 and federal project number Delta-260-0025-3012 between MDOT Aeronautics and Grosse Township for the design and engineering of the runway 422 runway reconstruction and lighting project with the costs as, and I have to read the whole thing, sorry. Those in favor of proceeding with the approval of that contract, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered?
Thank you. I'll try to make it shorter next time for your reading.
Again, I have to read. Okay, moving it. Now we're back to me. Action item number 3, which is going to look a lot like the one we had 2 weeks ago. Okay, the proposed motion is to award the 2015 lawn maintenance contract for a 2-year period to Moore Landscaping in accordance with the April 13th, 2015 Moore Landscaping proposal.
Second.
Okay, moved by Supervisor, seconded by Trustee Posiask. Background, Mr. Ream, do you want to cover this? Do you want me to?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to report to the board the community the lawn maintenance contract. We advertised a request for proposal in the newspaper at the beginning of April, and we received these and opened them on April 13th, and we had 3 contractors submitting. And you saw the attached spreadsheet that showed the different companies. We then performed interviews of those companies, D&K's, Commercial Ground Services, and Moore Landscaping. All 3 of these companies appear to have the strong ability to address our needs. In the information packet, Moore Landscaping was recommended based upon their past performance and the high ratings for the entryway, Grosvenor Parkway, the Macomb Commons Park area, and in the township rules regulations, we have a whole listing of criteria that we can award a bid for, from reliability, cleanliness, price, and Moore Landscaping was the second lowest bidder. They were not the lowest, and the difference between those bids was $437, and we had some of the bid requirements for vacuuming. Earlier, I think it was, what's the difference between vacuuming, bagging, and mulching? I understand mulching leaves it, and vacuuming and bagging picks it up. But we specified that for those certain areas for those obvious reasons. And with that, it was recommended that Moore Landscaping be awarded this. And to report to the community the difference in the numbers, Moore Landscaping was $33,792. Commercial Ground Services was $44,743. And Dan K's was $33,355. And there were 10 job locations And job 11 was just an hourly rate for whatever their work would be. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ream. This was the first topic of our study session this evening, and some valid points brought up on lowest bidders. What are our criteria? Why would we recommend going with not who was a contractor or a proposal that was not the lowest bidder? And my position remains unchanged. We had certain specs. Mr. Moore was the only one who complied with the specs as published. Not that if there was a big price delta, we wouldn't have gone around it, but the $437 I felt was, to get what we were specifying, was worth that slight addendum. And reviewing the references of the next lowest bidder, Dan Kay, excellent recommendations, an excellent lawn service company, Island resident, but Moore's met our bid criteria, and the cost was close enough that I thought the difference, I don't want to say irrelevant, it's still $437 of taxpayer money, but I think we're getting our money's worth for it. My standard litany is, I'm not here to get the lowest price, I'm here to get the best value, and I think in this case, this was the best. It was close, and we'll remember that in 2 years, Carl, but it was close. But I think this was the best value for the township dollar spent. Other comments? Last chance. Okay. We covered this in depth in our study session. Anyway, with that, I recommend the Grosseal Township Board of those in favor of awarding the 2015 lawn maintenance contract for a 2-year period to Moore Landscaping in accordance with the April 13, 2015 Moore Landscaping proposal, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. That motion carries. Thank you. Move on to action item 3, which is yours truly again, or action number 4. Okay, the resolution of support for the Tiger Grant, Allen Road grade separation, and where's my motion? Right, to provide funding for the construction of grade separation for Allen Road. Moved by the supervisor, looking for support. I'll give that to Mr. Budney, seconded by trustee Budney. Okay, this will be our third shot at it, and it had been a City of Woodhaven initiative. This year, it's a Wayne County initiative. Gosh, at the last DCC meeting, we're kind of back where we were. I found out today, talking to Jeff Harris, the city manager, Woodhaven, that there is still earmark money available. We're looking for the Tiger Grant, and they're kind of changing the nomenclature on that, but basically it's a Tiger discretionary grant funds. Woodhaven has a fixed amount. They've already put about $2 million into it in preliminary engineering and planning for a bypass. We really need to get this done. I get people send me pictures every day of waiting for the trains, and they don't ask me what I'm going to do about it anymore because they know I can't do anything about it other than petition this board, petition the community to support Wayne County's DPS in requesting the Tiger Grant, hopefully to generate enough money, depending on how it turns out, somewhere north of $20 million to complete this grade separation. So, comments from the board on this?
So I happily support this. I think this is a quality of life issue on Grosseal in providing fast, convenient, and safe access to and from the island. So I think this is long overdue.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Yeah,
Mr. Budney?
Mr. Supervisor, yeah, I agree with Eric. This is something that definitely would benefit our residents. We all go through the waiting for the train constantly over there. I am glad to see that Wayne County is picking up on the idea and helping us out here. So absolutely something we should do.
Yeah, and actually they have taken the lead on this. I really like dealing with Warren Evans. I'm really impressed. That personal opinion, I'm impressed dealing with him so far. So they're taking the lead on it. It is their road. It is a county road. So we're going to. Anyway, it's my intent that I'd like us to show support from. Any other comments from the board? All right, with none offered, those in favor of supporting by resolution the Wayne County's request for a Tiger Grant application for grade separation on Allen Road, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered? Thank you. I will get that to Wayne County and to Mr. Harris. And where did my agenda go now? All right, now the real exciting stuff, the 2015 tax levy. I move the Grosse Township Board of Trustees levy on the taxable value of said township for the year 2015 for the tax billing period, summer 2015, a tax of 4.50 mils on the taxable value thereof, said value being $574,444,262. Support from Treasurer Van Oss. We have to, by resolution, approve this to go to the, so that we can collect the revenues. It's kind of a formality, but we do it for this, we do it for the winter tax levy. Backgrounds, it's 4.5 mils for the summer, it'll be higher in the winter.
Comment?
Mr. Treasurer.
This is your sewer project, folks. This 4.5 mil is your sewer project. When we started out, we were at 0.5 mils back in 2003, 2002. We're at 2015, we're at 4.5. Based on the aggregate value of the homes on the island, I don't see it going any lower than that. It might go a tick or two, but probably until this bond is paid off. But basically, this is the SES program. And everybody voted. We had a choice at the time of putting it on our sewer bills, our sewer and water bills, at which point probably it cost you more for a glass of water than it would be for a beer.
I often said that.
So we chose at that point in time to put it on the tax rolls. And so that's what this number is. It's your sewer project.
Other comments from the board? This is one of our facts of life. I'm still very confident that, although most residents don't know it, don't need to know it, that we're glad we have our own wastewater treatment plant, because there's, with all the uncertainty, what's going on with the Wayne County system, we've seen what uncertainty Detroit water supply has led to, especially in terms of costs. I think at the end of the day, we're still glad we have that wastewater treatment plant and that the residents have opted to fund its continued maintenance and improvement. So with that, those in favor of levying on the taxable value of Grosse Township for the year 2015, the summer tax billing period, a tax of 4.5 mils on the taxable value of the township, that value being $574,444,262, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered? Well, thank you for continuing to support. And action item number 6.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Mrs. Smith.
I would like to make a motion based on the recommendation of the Grosse Township Fire Marshal grant of fireworks permit to Ace Pyro LLC to provide a public fireworks display on Friday, May 29th, with a rain date of Saturday, May 30th, 2015.
Support.
All right.
He was louder.
Second and support.
Yeah, but I'll give it to Mr. Buddy.
Okay, great. Well, this is pretty much an annual thing that we do. Island Fest is in its 31st year on the island, and the fireworks display is a pretty big portion of that. It probably brings in the most amount of people for the evening. And that same evening, actually, Killer Flamingos are going to be there, but not that it has anything to do with it. But I don't, yeah, right. So I don't know if Duncan has anything to add, but this just is one of those formalities that we do. It's a simple permit, and, giddy up.
Well,
Any questions?
It's simple in that we research the performance of the company, we ensure they have proper insurance, they don't have any, between our fire chief and our fire marshal, again,
Yeah, they're vetted.
You think that we're nitpicky?
Yeah. They're vetted.
They know what they're doing.
For
So
sure.
if we don't have a complaint from either the chief or the fire marshal, and I think the residents have been happy in the previous years, I recommend the VIP seats where you not only get to see the fireworks, but you get to feel them. and have the stuff fall down on you and get to really smell the cordite. It's a good show, and people do come from off island to see this.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're going to have all the soccer families in. Hopefully they'll stay a while, spend money, ride the rides, stay for fireworks. It's going to be a great time. And if it's anything like Island Fest last year, it's going to be a great time.
Just need that weather.
Yes.
But I don't want to, but I'm rambling on. All right, other questions, comments for Mrs. Smith, or concerns about the fireworks contract? All right, none offered. Those in favor of approving the, I don't have it in front of me, the contract with Ace Pyro for this year's fireworks at Island Fest, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will, thank you, by the way. That'll complete our action items for tonight. I can catch my breath. Clerk's report. Clerk Racka.
Mr. Supervisor, just wanted to give a very special thank you to all the election poll inspectors and workers, and also to the staff with Gail, Brian, and Sharon for the professionalism in getting the election handled as efficiently and as without incident as we did. Some of the numbers here are that we've got 8,690 registered voters on the island. Of them, 3,197 of them voted in the May 5th election, which is roughly 38% or 37%. So a pretty big turnout here on the island. And again, a big thanks for the people who turned out to vote, and especially for the people who turned out to work on the polls. And that's it for the clerk's report.
I hate to catch you off guard, but how did that compare? I thought they were estimating 20% average turnout statewide.
Yeah, between 22 and 25%. I didn't see what the statewide numbers ended up being. I actually anticipated we would have about 26%. So the 37% was a surprise to me as well.
So I mean, Grosse Ile voters, you're engaged, you make your positions known. So thank you for the good citizenship.
Yep.
Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The April investment report is not currently complete. It will be available online on my website next week. All of our investment accounts are available currently. Just go online. The Treasurer's Office sells the passes for the dog park at $10 for residents, $20 for non-residents. A valid dog tag is required. We will continue to collect delinquent personal property taxes from Grosse Ile businesses. Any business owners with questions regarding taxes due, please don't hesitate to contact me or Annette, and we can certainly give you the numbers. We have a Commerce Park meeting on the 18th, is that correct, on Monday? Again, I want to remind you that we're in the process of upgrading the Grosse Ile phone book, our Rotary Club. We need your information. If it's not correct, get it to us, because we're getting close. I'm going to mention it at every meeting, because we want to get this book as accurate as possible.
How do we get the information to you? Mostly to June, but how do we get it?
Well, if you have a current directory, obviously just my number and email address is on the front of the book, or June's is, and if not, just give me a call at my office and tell me what you want, or call June at my phone number, June Van Oss at my phone number. She takes thousands of calls a month, so she'll get it squared away.
God bless it.
That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. We'll move on to trustee reports. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I wanted to give everybody an update as far as the boardroom technology upgrade schedule. As you may or may not recall, the board here voted I can't talk today. It seems like unanimously on April 13th to approve Sound Engineering as the vendor to upgrade the Township Hall boardroom systems. And basically that's to improve the AV and the technology aspects within this boardroom. And it's also going to be used as the backup emergency operations center for both the police and fire departments. The project is going to start this May 21st, and it should take approximately 5 working days. They're thinking that they might be able to get done by the 26th, but they've definitely guaranteed us the 28th. So with that being said, this particular facility will not be available for use during that time frame. So both the ZBA and the Recreation Department meetings will not be televised. It will still be held here at Township Hall, but they will not be televised. And the total cost for this was $30,760, portions which came from both federal forfeiture funds and the communications departmental budgets.
Yeah, my only request was on those commission meetings, if we get an audio recording. The ZBA is, I consider, very important, and I'd like to have audio backup if we can't. Obviously, we're not going to be able to televise, but
right.
But the audio is what we're working on, right? So we're going to have trouble, have to
yeah.
break something.
Well, these are wonderful devices. You can actually do a lot of recording.
Recording method.
We still have cassette tapes.
Oh, boy.
Yep. Stone age.
Oh, boy.
Steam driven.
Yeah, but anyway, I also wanted to give an update as far as Island Fest is concerned. That's only 18 days away. I kind of have been giving everybody the countdown every time I'm behind this desk here. But Island Fest runs May 29th through the 31st. Killer Flamingos are Friday night, and 50 Amp Fuse is going to be Saturday night with Howl and Mercy as the opening act. Saturday morning is the parade, 10 o'clock sharp start, so we all need to be there. We are still looking for volunteers, wink, wink. I know that, yeah, we got to get, we've got lots of positions available, so if you guys have any time to lend, I'm sure the public would love to see you there. New this year, we're calling it Magic Clouds. We've got hot air balloons coming out. It's going to be really cool. So Friday at night until dusk, we're going to be doing a balloon glow after the fireworks, so you don't have to rush home after the fireworks are done. There's also going to be tethered rides, so people can go up for $20 per person all day on Saturday, and of course that's weather permitting. And let's see, we also are going to have helicopter rides. So that'll be really cool, weather permitting as well. And the next Festival Commission meeting is next Wednesday, the 20th, at 7 p.m.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Mr. Malvesto is excused tonight. Mr. Posiask.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'm going to make up for last time. This is my excuse for not being here last board meeting. My little lady, Susan, the lady with the big heart, had a heart attack 2 days before that meeting. And I'm pleased to tell you that as of today, she's back on the job. That's 16 days from start to finish. I think that's magnificent. But what is magnificent more than that is the way that this island responded to her. And I want to thank you for this. The board members and fellow employees of Sioux who sent cards and letters and phone calls, Grozier Recreation Department, DPS, Ted Fournier, who sent flowers and cards, all the seniors that she sees and drives were just overjoyed to hear her back today and sent her cards and calls. And those that get Meals on Wheels were tickled pink to see her once again today. And by the way, she is lovely pink right now. The employees that are at Recreation greeted her back so warmly last Friday. She got a big charge out of that. The big hug from Wally Ketcher is what I heard. And she's a lot more shy than me, as you might expect. But we're both humbled by this outpouring of support for her. And I want to say thanks. We love this community. These are some of the reasons. Going on to other things, I want you to know that last week we had the Bike to School event from BPAC, and it was a great success. Brian, I saw you mention of it. Give a big shout out to Erin Himmelsbach, who was just the major general in getting this thing rolling. She is very, very powerful at masterminding this. Our next Bike Path meeting is on May 19th. We are working on filling 2 vacancies on that committee. Grozier Open Space and Greenways Committee held their monthly meeting last Tuesday. I would like to have a report from Mr. Clark about Dump the Junk in some more detail, but there's the general and the mastermind of Dump the Junk. And Woody, the community owes you a great deal of thanks, and you get it from me too. And thank you for giving me the excuse for not being there.
Last thing I want to mention is a little past Island Fest. On August 22nd, there's going to be a whole lot of activity on this island. We're going to do the Walk the Path event like we did last year with the hot dogs and the lemonade and the frozen popsicles for the kids, all at no charge. Barry Van Engelen, who did a great job entertaining last year, has agreed to come back and play his guitar and sing with us and make me sing Yellow Submarine again. That was fun. We have on that day also something that is sponsored by my university, Wayne State, called the Barrow Doer, a cycling event. It is a 100-mile sponsored event, and I've talked to our police department about it and made provisions and talked to several of you on the board. This is a 100-mile event, and it ends here in Grosse Ile. They were looking for a refreshment station, so it's perfect, lemonade. That day, we also have the island-wide garage sale. Holy smokes, this place is going to be hopping. And that evening, Sacred Heart celebrates their 100th anniversary with a big dinner at Grosse Ile Golf and Country Club. We have a lot to be proud of in this community, and we're going to show our stuff on August 22nd. End of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Posias. Right, Jim. Mr. Budby?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Well, after Wally and Lauren, I really have nothing. The usual exciting DPS. We have a meeting tomorrow, and I know Mr. Kostick is here. He's going to say some words about it, so I'll leave that to him. We have no ZBA meeting this month, so I've taken care of your problem. I did want to, that's what I'm here for. I did want to just say to the residents, we've been going along on our ordinance enforcement, and we certainly want to hear from you if there are things out there. We want you to continue to let us know about your complaints. But I would caution you that our ordinance enforcement officer is out currently on extended sick leave, so the response time on this is going to be a little slow. But please keep letting us know what your concerns are out there.
Thank you, Mr. Budney. I'll move along to, let's see, Township Attorney. Nothing from Mr. Assorti. She's moving us around again. So I will go first, and Dale will play cleanup after me. Okay, Township offices, Monday, May 25th, Memorial Day holiday. That's why we're skipping the board meeting we normally have then. It'll be closed. Obviously, we're going to be open all day Friday, and we'll open again Tuesday morning, normal hours. Mr. Posiask remind us that Island Garage Sale, it's actually Friday and Saturday, the 21st and 22nd, from 9 to 4. Carol hasn't told me how people are signed up yet, but they're starting to, and it's a big garage sale. May 16th, which is this coming weekend, Grosse Ile Herb Society is hosting Herb Fest at Centennial Farm. Tails at the same place at the animal shelter from 10 to 2, an open house and bake sale, and they're both fundraisers. And let's see, Island Roadrunners have the 2015 Memorial Day 5K and 8K runs on Monday, May 25th. So let's show the usual courtesy we do to the guests who are running on our roads and bike paths and walking paths, running paths. A couple other odds and ends in my world. International Wildlife Refuge had their big annual fundraiser. John Dingle, recently retired, was there. Still looking for ways to, for lack of a better word, to make that a selling point for the community. We're surrounded by it. They're interested in picking up more acreage. For some of us, it means there'll be portions of our views of our island that'll never be developed. It'll be there, preserved in nature. So, and we're looking at, Mr. Duker's in some conversations with some more property down at the south end of the airport. I don't know if we're making any progress with that. Anyway, more to come on that. They're still looking at expanding more of the Wildlife Refuge in the Visitor Center. The construction has started, so maybe by the end of the summer they'll have the grand opening for that. The Educational Foundation held their big fundraiser. It was the best one I've seen. It was just a lot of fun. The luau concept, and the weather held off, so I have to talk with the school board and see how they did financially, but it was a pretty good time. And let's see, I just got word of this today, thank you, Julie Cordes, that Peg Bailey, who's been just a part of the community for as long as I've been here, she was the secretary to the airport. Historical societies where I had most of my interaction with her. She would straighten me out on people's names, pronunciation of names, and who was important and who wasn't, and what I should be focusing my efforts on. She's just a great gal, and we'll miss her. She was an institution, her, so just keep her in your thoughts. That, until we get into discussion, concludes my update. Hand it off to the Township Manager.
Thank you again, Mr. Supervisor. Since Mr. Friel is here, I have a 2-hour presentation prepared. Earlier it was mentioned about County Executive Warren Evans, and it reminded me, I've mentioned this to some of you, but not all. There's a Southern Wayne County Chamber of Commerce breakfast on the 18th that Executive Evans will be presenting at, and talking about the county and the state of their finances and some of the efforts they're going to make, but that would be a good opportunity for us as local officials to make more contacts and let them know what our challenges are as well. So I want to extend that invitation. Next item, the restaurant RFP committee met last week, and we are going to be interviewing the 3 potential restaurateurs that had submitted proposals for the restaurant at the Water's Edge facility. We expect to have those scheduled in a few weeks. Also, the rink committee, we tentatively going to be meeting next week. And I'm not 100% sure of the dates. I've heard a couple different versions, but I wanted to remind the board and the community that Wayne County is going to be doing some repaving work on Groseal Parkway and Jefferson. And I just do not have those dates. It was sometime beginning, middle of June, but subject to change. So stay tuned. Which leads me into our favorite topic the last several weeks, freighters. The freighters are scheduled through DTE for their coal deliveries. They inform us of their scheduled times, and they always schedule them to arrive at 8, 9 p.m. at night, 1, 2 a.m. in the morning. However, they always seem to, depending on loading, depending on weather, depending on whatever else, come at the most inopportune moment. So my proposed solution was schedule them to be here at 9 a.m. and they'll never show up at rush hour. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's something we don't have control. But not only on getting the message out on that paving project and the freighters, Groseal Facebook. We post the messages online as well as the Groseal Facebook. I know that Opportunity Groseal picks those up. Groseal Police Department Facebook picks that up. It's social media era, so those of you that are not part of that, please do so, and we push those messages and notifications out as soon as we can. And the very last item, happy birthday to my lovely wife Lisa. I love you, and she is 29 today. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Lim.
Good move.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that'll conclude our reports.
No, I'm here.
We've scheduled a discussion item tonight. This is something that it's close to me because it's an ordinance. It's a township ordinance that we don't enforce. We don't have the means to enforce, and by and large, we really don't seem to have the interest in enforcing it. We've handed it off to Wayne County. And I'm going to try to figure out how this works. Because I just loaded just a couple of items in here. I think it's in there. Of course not.
Oh, that's right.
There it is. Okay, so we have surrounding about 2/3 of the island, a 1,000-foot no-wake zone. And let's go with, this is what's available to residents or potential visitors if they want to come boating in this area. The hodgepodge of different no-wake zones. This is the island here. I hope you can see it reasonably well. It didn't blow up all that well. But the channel communities, Wyandotte is 300 feet. Trenton is 1,000 feet. Some of that almost touches Grocio Shore, covers the whole Trenton Channel. And for a little period here, theirs runs down to the bridge. Ours picks up from one of the buoys. Actually, it's about where Marlborough would be, a beam on the river. And we have a 1,000-foot no-wake zone around the entire south end of the island, all the way up to just about a beam where the lighthouse is. Actually, it's just a little bit north of there. Again, we give it to Wayne County to enforce. Very few people are aware of it. If you watch the Trenton Channel, people are running at speed up and down the river. It's not enforced, and this puts us in a situation of selective enforcement. I think, which, from day one, a selective enforcement situation is one I've always opposed. Our ordinances have to mean something. If we're going to have ordinances, we're going to take reasonable steps to enforce them, but we need them for a reason. And there is no reason, because people are safely transiting that channel every single day. We have no reason for a 1,000-foot, essentially closing off that channel to traffic. So and spent some time on numerous entities. These are handed over to 33rd District Court. They used to be misdemeanors. So how do you commit a crime when you don't know you're committing a crime? Well, it was a misdemeanor, and the court didn't like that. Apparently, they negotiated somehow that they've kicked it down to a civil infraction. The usual fine is $155. And every Grocio resident who's gotten that fine, I've heard about it within about 15 minutes, which when they come to, what do you mean there's 1,000-foot? Why isn't it published? We don't have a means to publish it. It's obviously the mariner's responsibility to find out, but for something as, I'm going to say, as outlandish as closing off the Trenton Channel to traffic is excessive. And you stand there all day, watch boats up and down without any problem, anytime. It's unnecessary. I had a long conversation with, let me get his name correct, Sergeant Wassel from the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. Very, very knowledgeable, great guy to talk to, gave some of the background on it, and what their capabilities are, where their areas of concern are. They're not concerned with the Trenton Channel. They'd like to see the boaters stay in the part marked by the Corps of Engineers, the marked navigation channel, but by and large, there's not a safety problem, and that's their concern. So they're not particularly concerned with it. They're concerned with more of the area between Sugar Island and Elba, the Grocio Yacht Club. That's a very congested area, and that's where they'll have their presence known. That's an area of concern, that both sides of Sugar Island, where it's congested and there's a lot of boat traffic. That's where safety is important. That's where they're going to have their vessels. The other area that really isn't covered well enough is the bridge, particularly the county bridge. So we talked at length on that and how uncomfortable it is, and it baffles me to see it, is guys running on plane under a bridge. Only bad things are going to happen when you're maneuvering a boat at high speed in close quarters. I'd like to see more control there. He would like to see more control in that. So Wayne County is enforcing. There's a state ordinance, there's a county ordinance, and Trenton has an ordinance, and Grocio has an ordinance, all in the same area. But Wayne County is enforcing their 500-foot ordinance. And ours is just there, again, for selective enforcement or for non-enforcement. So what I'm going to ask the board to consider is looking at these more congested areas and ensuring we have coverage there, pulling the rest of that 1,000-foot back to a 500-foot area. I've talked to John Hardig. He'll support whatever the township board thinks is necessary for safety around Sugar Island. That's part of the wildlife refuge. City of Trenton, Jim Wagner, the city administrator, Mayor Kyle Stack, they will work with us also. They don't see the need for the 1,000-foot in the Trenton Channel. They know they can't enforce it. So I'd like to get the channel communities all on pretty much the same page. They'll be enforcing the Wayne County 500-foot ordinance. It's reasonable, and I'd like to continue to see the marked channel exempted, but the lands shoreward of the channel in that area between the Wayne County Bridge and the Grosse Ile Toll, actually to the north end of the island, to the split buoy, which is up, if I could put the mouse over that, right about here, to have the lands or the waters shoreward of the marked channel maintained as a no-wake, so that if you're proceeding up the channel and you want to turn into your dock on Grosse Ile, you don't have an individual in a boat trying to pass you on the right at speed in areas where he should be going at a slower speed. So there's extended ordinances on this, and I'm learning a lot about ordinances too, with the state watercraft laws, the Department of Natural Resources is involved in this. It'll be an involved process. And anyway, that's what I'm throwing out for consideration. Let's see if I have the rest of my pictures in here. That's the one no, it's, oh well. I do have these in here. I've been playing with this thing all day and I still haven't figured it out, because somebody's decided to use a different reader than the one that the rest of our computers had, and it really makes my job difficult. But so what, right? Suck it up. I'm working on it, Woody, but you get one mistake with a foreign computer product. Okay, where was I? Okay, let's try GI nav. Let's see if that's one I got rotated properly. No. Yeah, you're laughing now. Okay, let's find, there's a rotate mode in here. There it is. So I got to rotate it all the way around and to get back right to where I expected it to be. Okay, so we're looking at the north end of the island here. The what's listed as black can number 1 sits right, I do know how to pull this, or I did know how to pull this up. Just to move this along, black can number 1 right here, they're not black anymore, they changed them to green years ago, but this is where the no-wake zone ends on the east side of the island. Here's the Wayne County Bridge. Here's where the no-wake zone starts for Grosse Ile and works around to the south. That's about a B Marlboro, the wastewater treatment plant. Trenton's goes to the bridge. You don't see them enforcing this when they have their fishing tournaments. It's just ignored. And if we're going to have ordinances, I think they should mean something. So I'm going to be petitioning the board, Wayne County, DNR, whatever rigmarole we have to go through to get that back to a safe, reasonable limit that we're proud of it. But I'm asking for the input of the residents also. If there's an area where you've seen safety violations, if you can come up with a reason to keep it no wake at a specific distance, I want to know about it. Wayne County wants to know about it. I want to revise our ordinance to something that we truly intend to enforce and encourage Wayne County to enforce also for safety. That's the only reason I can say having this. So anyway, that's my discussion item. Questions, comments from the board? There's going to be a lot of work. This is a tedious process because it has to go through the state and back down. But I'd like to get it started. We won't get it done by this boating season, but I want to eliminate one more reason for people not to want to come downriver. I tried to run my boat down there, and they told me the whole thing's a no-wake zone, so I'm just not going to do it. I don't want anyone to have that excuse to not to want to come downriver for recreation or to live. Comments from the board? Okay, we'll move along then.
I just want to say that I think you're on the right track, and I support you.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Okay, so anyway, it's out there. I'll try to get this information out as much as possible. And again, those of you who have a stake in this, all of us to some extent, some of you living on the waterfront who have seen hazardous situations, or we think we don't need any, just let me know what your thoughts are, and we'll move on from there. That'll conclude the discussion item then. We'll move on to public comment. First, Mr. Costick.
Good evening. I'm Bill Costick, Chair of the DPS Commission. I'm here again to talk about roads. And I just want to alert you that tomorrow night at our DPS Commission meeting, we are going to go through the plan that we have been going through almost monthly that we gave to you last fall. And it was a plan that outlined road improvements for all the primary and secondary roads on the island, some $9 million worth of road improvements, actually $12 million worth of road improvements, and $9 million worth of water main improvements. So we don't want to fix roads and have water main construction following the road improvements. So they are tied together. This is a plan we've been working on. And last December, after submitting it, a draft copy to the county, we were informed that there's no way, this is a letter that we all received, that Grosse Ile will ever qualify for any grant assistance because of our low traffic volumes, our lack of accidents, compared with all the other needs in Wayne County. So, we'll be meeting again with Wayne County, but we're going to finalize the plan. It's actually a revised plan. We're eliminating some $2.5 to $3 million worth of what we had hoped for, grants. And there's 3 roads on the island eligible for grants: Grosse Ile Parkway, on the so-called urban system, Grosse Ile Parkway, Meridian, and East River Road. We had hoped to get some grant assistance for Meridian, which is in very bad shape, East River, which is in very bad shape, and then the county said, no way will we ever qualify. And they've taken all those projects off their needs list. We're going to ask them to put it back on. So that means if there ever was an influx of money, we might be eligible or move a project up. But that's being hopeful at this point. So realistically, we're trying to face facts that we're not going to get any help from outside if we don't do something on our own. And the roads are dreadful, as you know. So I want to tell you this, that we're going to redo the list tomorrow night. We're going to make a recommendation back to you that you consider this, and we hope to make a presentation at your June meeting, your first meeting in June, with our revised plan. I've already outlined the revisions. And what we have been striving for is to possibly go with a proposal for bonding to the residents in November of this year. That'll be an issue for you to discuss. What I've learned is the new law, the changes in the law last year regarding bond proposals or millage proposals, is the language has to be in to the county clerk 90 days in advance of the election. So that would mean the deadline that we secured from the Township's bond council is August 11th. I would hope that we could, if we're going to move forward with this, if we make a presentation to you, and we'd like to do it here at your beginning of your public meeting so that everybody can see what we're talking about. We'll have maps that hopefully by sometime in July, the sooner the better, if we're going to go forward, that you would adopt a resolution to move forward, if that's your inclination, so that we can have several months, at least 3 full months, possibly 4, to go to speak to every group in this community, to talk to the seniors, to talk to every neighborhood group or any group that we can talk to. And I personally would plan on going to all the boards and commissions and all the civic clubs in the community to try to explain what we're talking about. And it'll be a simple, straightforward, with a map, a schedule, the cost estimates for each road and what the fix is for each road, and the water mains. And I know the fire chief supports us with the water main improvements. These are badly needed. So anyway, I'm just giving you a heads up that we're going to come forward with this, and I appreciate your listening to me tonight. So thank you. That's it. I stole John's.
Nice, Bill.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Mr. Kostick, just really quickly. So hopefully, when you come forward, you consider the Safe Streets Initiative as well in the proposals.
The Safe Streets Initiative?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I don't know how that, I don't know how that relates.
The safe routes, basically, no, not safe routes, I think they read the complete streets. That's what I think, complete streets, yeah.
Okay, the complete streets. Well, yes, we'd like to. Money's going to be tight, but in terms of complete streets or safe streets, I will tell you this. Our streets right now, whether you talk about Ferry or Church or Meridian, they're not safe to bicycle on or to walk on or to ride a bike on or motorcycle. They're in very bad shape. So improving the surface of those roads is going to make them a lot safer than they are today. And when I relate to that, I see a lot of people walking in the evening when it's dark, riding bikes off the bike path, on streets when it's dark, and you can't see the potholes. And it's very unsafe. People walk their dogs in the evening on a lot of our roads, and it's unsafe. So we're talking about all the major roads. Now, not the neighborhood streets in this proposal, but all of the major secondary, primary roads in the township would be somehow addressed with resurfacing under this plan. So I guess the answer to your question is yes. But complete streets is the idea that we might expand our opportunities to possibly on East River, for example, we would try to expand the shoulder so that a paved shoulder so that there's more opportunity for people to either jog, run, bike, walk along East River in a safer zone than they have today. Meridian, we have a bike path.
That complete streets resolution that this board approved some months ago is a philosophy. And its philosophy is to make sure that whenever we build a road or improve a road or repair a road, that we take into account all sorts of traffic, not just vehicular. And so this is a plan that says when you're going to build a road, just like you said, a widened shoulder is a consideration for complete streets because it allows people to walk or bicycle or skateboard or walk their dog or whatever they wish. And the philosophy isn't real hard to live with. It just says, hey, remember us? We're not in a car. Right? That's the way I look at it.
And as a matter of fact, and you might be able to answer this question, I've spoken with Brian Pollock, the chair of the bicycle committee, and we are planning for them to come to our June meeting, I believe, of the DPS Commission, and we're going to lay out our plan to them, and they're going to make suggestions back to us of how we might be able to accommodate some of their concerns. I think that addresses your...
Yep, it does. Thank you.
Anything else?
Well, while I've got you here, we all saw the results of Proposal 1. I mean, nothing went down in flames harder than that. It was barely a good idea when it first hit the drawing boards, and then it just became how sausage is made. But this might be the opportunity to revisit the McNitt Act with over half of Michigan's population living in townships. And as Mr. Somerville said, most are happy with the service they get in the rural townships. But in the urban townships, it's, I mean, we've been aware of it for a long time, but the newer urban, suburban township communities, as their infrastructure is starting to age, and they can't keep up with their road maintenance on what the county is willing to apportion to them, are starting to feel the pain we've known for many years, and it may be time to petition the legislature for relief from the McNitt Act the way it's written now, and maybe become our own road, to some extent, under certain conditions, our own road funding source. I think if there was ever a time that we might be able to move on this, because they're in such turmoil over road repair in this state, then I think they have to have everything on the table.
That'd be a good idea as long as we didn't have to take the bridge, the county bridge.
The bridge is always, only half of that bridge is Grosse Ile.
Well, and I don't know what we'd have to ask MDOT to actually estimate what our revenues would be per year.
Well, they're going to be more than nothing.
I think the only thing we can safely say, we're getting no drainage improvements out of Wayne County. The Sibley Yard is very good about filling potholes, I have to say that. Our roads are almost all pothole filled.
Both of them, both guys.
And on this topic, it was 2012 that Riverview passed 3 mills for 10 years for roads. If you recall, last fall, I came to this board with a report that on the November election, last fall, November, there were 74 communities throughout the state, counties, townships, cities, that had proposals for road millage bond issues on the ballot. Of the 74, I think it was 16 did not pass, and the rest did. It's a high percentage. Just this past November, this past election last week, the voters in Ferndale, I don't know if you saw this, reapproved, and it had expired, a $45 million street and park improvement bond. $45 million. And of course, they're going to spread that cost over 10 to 15 years. But it's pretty clear that communities all over are realizing the only way they're going to get satisfaction is to do it yourself. So it's a costly thing, but I'm telling you, our roads are just terrible.
Yes.
It's affecting our property values, not only our safety. So, thank you.
Okay, this is going to be a lot of work, but thanks, Mr. Costick. Okay, public comment continues. Who wants to go first? Mr. Clark.
Woody Clark, Park Lane. On the markings of Horse Mill, I see quite a few markings on Horse Mill that this one's is going to be corrected. Now, 8189 is not marked, and it's the worst bump on the road. Why?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You said you were going to do Horse Mill. You said you were going to do Grow Road on doing the chip and steel, chip and throw gravel.
Chip seal.
Tar and chip.
I'll look at it, Jim.
Tar and chip.
I'll check.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, you guys never, because you guys in the south had never come up to the north end of Auburn Road.
Yeah.
The expert is behind you, Woody.
I know who he's about. We're going to find out what he.
Well, I'm not an expert. I don't know about this particular address.
Okay.
I do, well, I'd ask Brian to make note of the address, you give it to him again, and I'll have it checked out. But the chip seal program is moving forward after Island Fest. And before we do the chip seal application, certain sections of Horse Mill, certain sections of the East River section that we're going to do, as well as Grow and South Point, the worst sections, they're going to come in and do some base repairs before we do the chip seal. They're going to come in and mill off the poor sections. They're supposed to have been marking them now, and that's probably what you're referring to.
Would that be the fluorescent pink markings?
I didn't see the color, but...
But they did it in front of your house.
I don't think so. At any rate, they're going to be milled off, new asphalt applied to eliminate the broken up asphalt, alligator asphalt, and then come in and do the chip seal application. Brian, if you would note the date, the address on it, we'll ask our engineers to check it out to see if it was overlooked. Thank you.
Well, it's got to be overlooked. There's nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Costick. All right, Mr. Clark?
Marked there. There's nothing marked.
Okay.
Okay, so
Right.
I'll tell you what, just drive down Horse Mill.
8189 Horse Mill.
8189 on Horse Mill. Go drive from the Canal Bridge, go east. Go 35 miles an hour. You'll find it.
Okay.
Okay, I've dumped the junk. We're going to get some more bins too, because I've never seen so much plank wood in my life. I might even get the wood cutters down there and let them cut it up and take it out, because it's good wood. It just got big, and the brush is still coming. I've never, the limbs, the branches, just keep coming and coming and coming. And a lot of junk still keeps on coming. So we get more dumpsters. Yeah, we can. We had 11. We're going to try to go to 13 or 14 because we don't have enough room to put them. We're throwing a lot of stuff right on the floor. John comes in and knocks it down some, and so we load them back up again. But that's about it. Yes?
Just to mention, to add to your report, we did stop our wood cutting temporarily until the oak wilt problem seems to cease in July. We will resume, and that's a wonderful program. This should get us a lot of cleaned up wood.
But this wood, that are plank wood,
No,
is just as good.
That's true.
And you don't have to worry about the trees.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mr. Nelson?
I'll be quick.
You better be Jim.
My girlfriend.
Not quick.
Jim Nelson, 27902 Beale Road. Woody, I love you, you know that the only way I can. But at the end of the day, on Meridian, those two bumps, significant, are fixed. The cement is in there now. Could you have said thank you to somebody for doing that?
I'll say thanks.
Up here, instead of always being so negative. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. You guys can sort that out. Mr. Pilkington?
Good evening, Craig Pilkington, South Point. I listened to some of the comments that were made earlier in the evening by Mrs. Walker and Mr. Zelasco relative to the splash park, and frankly, I agree with some of them. And I want to make sure that we are on target and well thought out as far as our financials are concerned. I would have liked to have seen more consensus and amongst the community and maybe a citizens community group put together to discuss this and discuss the character of this. Because I think you own this now. And if it doesn't work out, it's your posteriors. And I want it to be successful, but it's got to be a good fit. And the timing has got to be right, and the marketing plan has got to be right, and the revenue stream has got to be there. I would disagree with, I think, some of the attitude, or maybe not the attitude, but the perspective. Attitude's a misnomer. When Mrs. Walker talked about the school population, she's absolutely correct that we have a declining school population. But instead of looking at ways to fit and resize our recreational assets to a declining school population, I think we need to look at how do we grow our school population? How do we take projected losses and shortages in the classes that we now have? And if you go through them, and if you go on to michiganschooldata.org, you will see that we're short by 30, 40, 50 per class that we've got to come up with in the future, and projected at a significant decline over the next 15 or 20 years. How do we address this? How do we address this and still maintain a balance and maintain the support of the community? And I think it's time to have a discussion about whether or not we have enough affordable housing to be able to attract that target demographic. I think what you've seen, if you've watched what transpired in Riverview in the vote last week for the 4th time, they had a school millage that went down. 40%, in fact, better than 40% of their student population is school of choice. So you don't have the residents supporting these expenditures, even though it's a fairly small $7.5 million proposal, I think, because they don't feel that their kids are participating in it. And those parents of the kids that are in school, they don't vote. You've got 40% of the parents that are not allowed to vote. So how do we repopulate our schools and replenish and add value, and still not reach a limiter as far as tax burden? That also lies with you. Because I agree with Mr. Kostick. We have got to fix these roads. These are killing our property values, and they're certainly not attractive. They're like the shoes of our community, and you can tell a lot about a community by a person or its community by the shape of its roads or by their shoes. We have got to fix these. We would increase the property values all throughout the island and the taxable values if we fix these roads. But adding on $3 million, I'll tell you, when you saw a school proposal that went down here, and it was not just solely to negativism associated with Proposal 1, the school board did not sell it and did not make a good case for it. Okay, well, you're going to have a tough road to hoe with $3 million. So you better find economies here and be able to give that back before you just arbitrarily take us close to a 50 mil mark as far as tax burden is concerned. We need these things, but you need to prioritize and make sure that we're making the right expenditures. And I think a discussion of housing and whether we have the right housing is very important in that. And I think you got to throw any sacred cows that we've had traditionally, and there have been some and still are some, as far as expense centers and cost centers. You need to get rid of those. They all need to be broached. It's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Pilkington. Other comments from the public, President? I see none offered. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Support. Okay, moved by Trustee Pojek, second by Trustee Bentley. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none offered. I'll call the meeting adjourned at, 9:49. Thanks for coming, everyone. Got like that.